Good afternoon, everyone. In this video, we will be talking about system conception. Okay, one of the stages of software development process. Okay, object-oriented software development process. The system conception actually deals with the genesis of an application. Okay, we have already looked at this one. Okay, so in the previous video, okay, it deals with the genesis of an application. Initially, somebody thinks of an idea for an application. So the innovator actually prepares a business case and sells the idea to an organization. How the thing actually has to happen, I will be discussing in the coming slides. The innovator must understand both the business need and the technological capabilities of the day. Okay, so that is actually very critical. So, when you are devising a system concept, you can be thinking about new functionality. Okay, new functionality to an existing system. There is an existing system is there, and then like you want to add additional functionality to it. Okay, say for example, the university has some system, okay, which is currently taking care of accounts. Okay, probably like we want to add student management functionality to that one. Okay, so that is like adding a new functionality. It can be thought of as a system conception. Okay, or you can actually think about streamlining. Say for example, current system has certain restrictions, you can actually remove them and generalize the way like the system is actually working, okay, or works, okay, and its functionality, etc. So you can actually streamline its functionality. So that also like you can think about system conception. And then like alternatively, say for example, you want to simplify the things. Okay, currently like certain functionality is being performed. Okay, certain operations are actually performed by specialists. Okay, so whether you want to put like ordinary persons performing those tasks, okay, which were previously assigned to specialists. Okay, so that's also you can think about such a system. Alternatively, if there is a manual process is happening, okay, within a particular organization, can you be able to automate it using a certain system? Okay, that can also be thought of as a system conception. Okay. So there are several ways. These are some of the ways. Okay. Or say, for example, if there are different systems existing individually, can you be able to combine all the things together? So you can think about an integration and then like make everything come into a single system. Or you can also think about analogies from other domains. Say for example, you are in one type of industry and then like there is another industry where like a different type of application is very successful and they are actually using it. Can you actually be able to bring it and then be able to adapt it to your specific industry? Okay, so analogies from other domains. So these are different types of ways like you can actually think about a new system conception. Alternatively, globalization also has a huge effect here. Okay? Say, for example, like you can travel to different countries and observe different cultural and business practices. So, how these things actually happen in those countries, you can actually think of them and then like design a system, and you can actually bring it to your country. So, the globalization has actually given us a lot of interesting ways you can actually think about new systems. So, system conception. Okay. So that's about the basics of system conception, how you actually have a conception. But a good system conception must answer several questions. Okay, so some of these following questions. Okay, so it should definitely answer these questions. Who the application is actually for? So if you are thinking about an application, you should be thinking about the stakeholders of the system. Once you are thinking about the stakeholders of the system, you should be thinking about both the financial sponsors and also the end users. You should not just be thinking about end users. Eventually, if well, any system which you are trying to develop, okay, it should be cost efficient. Okay. Who would be actually funding for that one? Eventually, the system has to be sold to an organization. Okay. So you should be thinking about who the financial sponsors for that particular application and who will be the end users. Okay. So a good system concept should be able to answer that one. Then it should also answer like what problems will it solve. Okay, say for example, think about the features and the size of the effort. Okay, what are the features in the system, the size of the effort that is required to basically develop such a system, and what is the scope of the system. Okay, what problem it is actually trying to solve. And then like for this particular thing, like, okay, you can actually reach different kinds of users from different organizations. Say for example, eventually if you are trying to solve a problem and trying to develop a system, and then like you are actually preparing a system conception for a particular organization, go and talk to the people, okay, try to get their opinion. Okay, so for example, like how they are currently solving this the problem, or like whatever the system which you are proposing, like how it will actually benefit them, what problems will it solve for them. Okay, so you should be able to think about all of things, and your system conception should be able to address all those things. And it should also answer like where will it be used, will it be complement to the existing system, or like will it be a completely new system, whether it will be run locally or like distributed or like internet. Okay, so and you have, if it is a commercial system, like you should also be able to characterize all this sort of customer base for that particular thing, for that particular application. And a system conception, okay, so system conception phase should basically provide all this information, and when it is needed, okay, what is the feasible time for that one, the time in which the system can be developed with constraints of available costs and resources. Okay, so for example, how long will it take to develop such an application. And then like the required time is also critical when the system is actually needed to meet the business goals. Think about a small example. Okay, say for example, sometime soon, like the Olympics will be coming. If you are developing an application which is actually for the Olympics, you should be able to decide like whether you can actually develop the application before the Olympics actually start. Okay, that is actually dealing with this sort of feasible time. And the required time is like the business actually needs, like whether, okay, say for example, if we want to commercialize it for the Olympics, at least 3 or 4 months before that one, like the system should be ready, so that like they can advertise about it, they can market about it and all things, and use during the Olympics. So the required time will also be a goal, so whether your feasibility time can be before the required time. Okay, so all these things the system conception should be able to properly assess, conception stage should actually assess. And also like say for example, like it should also answer like why it is needed. Okay, say for example, like what is the business case for it, financial justification for the new system, including the cost. Of course, like if you are proposing a new system, it has to be developed eventually, so that means like it will incur certain costs. What will be the tangible benefits, whether these benefits actually can be more than the costs which are incurred, what are the risks, what are the alternatives. So a concept should actually think about all the things, okay, and how it will work. Okay, so we have to basically brainstorm the feasibility of the problem. Okay. So you have to talk with multiple stakeholders with for all these things. Okay, so at any stage, like if it turns out with negative, okay, and say for example, if the stakeholders are not showing interest in the application, you have to come back and rethink about the thing, okay, about the application. So in summary, like before actually investing the time and money for the into the development, it is necessary to evaluate the feasibility of the system, the difficulty and risk of developing it, the demand for the system, and the cost benefit ratio. All these things has to be basically done before you actually even go into the analysis stage. Okay, at the system conception stage, like you should have a preliminary idea so that like you can actually approach the respective stakeholders. The process should consider the viewpoints of all the stakeholders. Okay, so in the system conception stage, this process usually results in adjustments. So, for example, like originally you will have a certain system conception. Okay, so and you will basically do all these things and you will try to answer all these questions. Then there will be a lot of changes which will be suggested, and then like that means like there will be a lot of adjustments to the original idea. Okay, so you should be flexible for the change at this particular time. So when the system conception stage is complete, more or less like you have to prepare a problem statement. Okay, the problem statement actually serves as the starting point for the analysis. The problem statement need not be complete; it will change during the development. Okay, so during the next stages. Okay, so during the analysis and then like design, etc. See, the point of the analysis itself is like, okay, so you'll be developing the model so that like you will basically clean requirements, and then like you will be developing more requirements, and then like you will try to fix the requirements at certain stage. Okay, so it will change. The problem statement need not be complete, but it should be there. The problem statement helps to actually focus the attention of the project. Okay, so that like you are not diverted. Okay. So in terms of, say for example, if we really think about an example of an developing an ATM machine, automatic teller machines, here is a problem statement like which you would like to look at. Okay. Of course, like people can read this one. Okay, so it is a little bit longer text. I will quickly try to read it. Okay, and then like try to make the key points there. See this. Design the software to support a computerized banking network, including both human cashiers and ATMs, to be shared by a consortium of banks. So that means like this application, whatever you are developing ATM, it is to be shared by the consortium of banks. So you already know the stakeholders who will be using that one. So it should be used by these sort of human cashiers and also like okay. So and also like the actual users. But this will be owned by this sort of consortium of banks. So that means like there will be stakeholders who can actually pay for that particular system. Each bank provides its own computer to maintain its own accounts and process transactions against them. So that means like what are the systems you are actually interacting? This problem statement is already discussed, talking about. Cashier stations are owned by individual banks and communicate directly with their own bank computers. So that means like these cashier stations are coming in between. Human cashiers enter account and transaction data. So these are the ones still are there in the system which are who are actually taking care of that. Automatic teller machine communicate with a central computer that clears transactions with the appropriate banks. So that means like each bank has a machine with which like it is actually communicating. Central computers. An automatic teller machine accepts a cash card, interacts with the user, communicates with the central system to carry out the transaction, dispenses cash, and prints receipts. So this is the main functionality of the ATM machine. Okay, that's also like we have actually mentioned about. So it should basically be able to give cash to the people. So the problem statement is as detailed as this one. Okay, there will be a lot of things which will jump in when you are actually going to the analysis and design stages. But then like you have to start with this sort of clear problem statement. The system requires appropriate record keeping and security provisions. Okay, so additional functionality is needed. We are also talking about the features which should be there. We are also talking about the system must handle concurrent accesses to the same account. Okay, so these are also like some of the things like which you will be worried about at the design stage. The banks will provide their own software for their own computers. You have to design the software for the ATMs and the network. So you are actually putting the boundaries for your system. So it is very clearly defining like what is the part this system should be developing. The, the cost of the shared system will be appropriate apportioned to the banks according to the number of customers with cash cards. See, the cost of the shared system, it is eventually a shared system. And how who will pay for it and how the cost will be shared, okay, is also being provided in this sort of problem statement. So if you think in terms of an automatic teller machine, if you want to develop an ATM machine, and if you are thinking in terms of system conception, okay, after talking with all the stakeholders and everything, and like what are the features, what are the systems, should be able to answer all the questions which we have mentioned. Eventually, you are coming to this sort of problem statement. Okay, that's about the system conception. Okay, regarding the reference is concerned, like this is excerpt from chapter 11. Okay, object-oriented modeling and design with UML. Okay, Michael Blaha, James Milton. Thank you very much for your attention.